Fear. It's something we all face, isn't it? Whether it's fear of rejection, fear of failure, or fear of what others might think, fear can often feel like a constant companion. But as believers, we must recognize that there is a fear God encourages us to have. A fear far from enslaving us. It's actually set us free. The Bible calls it the fear of the Lord. No, Paul, writing to the Corinthians, he said, "For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may receive what is due for what he has done in the body, whether good or evil. Therefore, knowing the fear of the Lord, we persuade others." The fear of God is not a fear that stops us in our tracks. Instead, it encourages us to live with respect, obedience, and wonder toward the one who is the final judge of all. This fear keeps us grounded in the truth that no matter what others think or say, we live for God's approval, not man's. However, there is another kind of fear, one that does not come from God. It's the fear of man. We see this in the lives of many believers who are so worried about what others think that it becomes a barrier to their obedience to God. Many people fear being rejected, mocked, or even persecuted, and because of this fear, they start to live in a way that prioritizes pleasing others rather than following God's will. And the problem is that fear of people keeps us from living freely and fully for Christ. Timothy, Paul's young disciple, he struggled with this. As a young pastor in Ephesus, he likely faced opposition and fear. But Paul reminds him, he said, "For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control." The fear that Timothy struggled with was not from God. It was the fear of man. And it was hindering him from stepping out boldly to fulfill God's calling on his life. Let me tell you, there is freedom in the fear of God. What does it look like to walk in the fear of God instead of the fear of people? It means remembering that God is sovereign and that the only judgment that matters is His. It means living with a profound reverence from God's holiness, knowing that He is with us always, and that His power, love, and self-control can enable us to stand firm even in the face of opposition. Fear of people leads to disobedience. It paralyzes us and prevents us from fully trusting God. But the fear of God frees us to walk boldly in His power and love. When we fear God more than we fear man, we find courage in the midst of our weakness. We find strength when we feel faint. We find peace in the midst of uncertainty. God has not given us a spirit of timidity or fear. He has given us His Spirit, a spirit of power, love, and self-control. As you face the challenge of this life, remember, there is no reason to fear man. Christ has set you free from that bondage. Live in the reality of God's presence and true that He will equip you to follow Him without fear. His love will cast out all other fears. So today, ask yourself, what are you more afraid of, God or people? Let your answer direct you back to a deeper reverence for the one who is able to strengthen you and uphold you no matter what comes.